It's on the sidebar here. Look, there I am! There I am! I'm in a Matt Pat video! I'm in a Matt Pat video! Unintentionally, but nonetheless. What is up, you guys? I'm Charmx. Today I'm gonna be reacting to film theory. Thanos was wrong. He can't snap by the film theorists. Now, that title, do you mean he can't snap, like, he can't do that? Like, physically he can't do it? Like, he just can't do it? He's one of the people who can't snap? Because I know there's a certain amount of population that can't actually, you know, do that. So that maybe that's what Matt Pat means. I don't know. But anyway, hopefully this is gonna be interesting. I don't feel too good at the moment. I feel like my stomach's feeling weird. But hopefully that's not an issue during this. Without any further ado, the original link's in the description. And let's begin.
Thanos, buddy, I love you, but after all these movies and all that effort to get those Infinity Stones, your big triumphant moment where you vaporize half the universe finally comes around and you choose to snap? Snap. I mean, come on, we're not all Picasso here, but it's just uninspired. Think of all the other things you could have done. The Thanos clap. The Thanos punch the sky. The Thanos dab. A little dated, but still relevant with the youngsters. The Thanos shadow puppet. The Thanos American Sign Language. It would be great for building awareness of other forms of communication.
I think the only way that it could have been better, like, I think the snap is just probably the easiest, right? Like, for all the other ones, you have to do a whole lot of body movements, but the snap, you just do this. Right? I don't know. Maybe that's why. He's just lazy.
No? None of those? Well, that's just uncalled for. No one asked for the Thanos middle finger salute. Well, now you're just being childish.
Da-da. Ba-da-da-da.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Film Theory, the show that makes being a know-it-all about all your favorite franchises a snap. Now that we've all had time to sit back and reflect on the glory that was Avengers Infinity War, I wanted to bring up something that's been bugging me about it. Don't get me wrong, I love this movie. It was basically the Marvel Cinematic Universe meet.
Don't tell me you're gonna ruin it in this, Matt. Don't tell me you're gonna ruin it, because a lot of movies, they're really enjoyable. But if you actually take the time to sit and think, you know, about what's going on in them, like, the logic just isn't there for a large portion of movies, and you're like, wait, why did that happen? That shouldn't have happened. That doesn't make sense. So if you sit and think about something for too long, especially a movie, it's not gonna make sense. So don't tell me you're ruining it in this.
It's Survivor All-Stars. I mean, I'm sitting there in the theater seeing how many of my favorite Marvel characters are in this thing, and I can't tell where my own gleeful drool ends and the fake butter flavoring on my popcorn begins.
It's a very disturbing image. The drool in the butt.
Yet, in spite of all of that, there's one part of this movie that I found just a bit too implausible to let go. And when I think back about it, I actually let a lot of things go for this movie. I mean, Heimdall can see everything but misses Thanos' ship. Sure, we all make mistakes. Thor can just jam somebody else's eye into his socket and see again. Whatever, I guess he's a god. The mortal rules don't apply to him. Doctor Strange has literally the whole movie to use his time stones and just doesn't, even though he should see Thanos' plans for galactic genocide coming.
See, what I say, Matt? What I say? You're thinking, Matt. That's a problem here. As soon as you think, you're gonna ruin it.
A mile away, and he has portals that are able to rip people in half, or at the very least capture them, which should make pulling off the gauntlet very easy. You know, I don't have an explanation for that. It's movie magic, okay? And Doctor Strange is my favorite Marvel superhero, so he basically gets a free pass all around.
And it's also Benedict Cumberbatch, so that also helps, because I like Benedict Cumberbatch. But yeah, he's also an awesome superhero. But yeah, Matt, you're thinking too much. You're thinking too much. This is gonna ruin the movie.
No, the problem I had with this movie was none of these things. It was this scene. Did you catch it? It was over in a snap, literally. Thanos snaps his fingers and wipes out half the universe for the sake of resource conservation, like some sort of over-enthusiastic Al Gore. But there's a problem here. The snap itself, the actual act of clicking.
Oh, so he can't do it.
Clicking his fingers like a hulky Dorothy trying to click her heels to get back to Kansas. I mean, come on! He's wearing a giant gauntlet made of uru, a metal. He can't just snap his fingers while he's wearing that, right? Think about every movie you've ever seen where people are wearing metal armor. Every Game of Thrones episode. Heck, every British period piece where
Yeah, I guess you can't technically snap when you're wearing that.
They wear those dainty tea gloves. Nobody is snapping in those things. I mean, I can't even unlock my cell phone when there's a little French fry grease on my fingers, so snapping in a gauntlet is near impossible. And not by the rules of some convoluted comic book universe, but by the basic laws of physics. It's moments like this where I'm like, Marvel, I love you. I count down to every release you have like a 6-year-old counting down to Christmas. But sometimes it's like, do you even science, bro? So I have to call you out, answer the tough yet essential questions here, and show you why Thanos' finishing move is a deafening dud. To the Theorist Mobile! If we want,
You know, even if Matt is correct, which I think he probably is, that you can't snap with it, Thanos could have done something else, like right after. It's like, oh wait, that didn't work? Let me do this instead. So he could have done the old, you know, meme review clap or whatever, and did something else to wipe out everyone.
Want to determine whether you can snap while wearing the Infinity Gauntlet, we should first clarify what's actually making the sound of a snap. First, snap your fingers. Now, do the same thing but hold your index finger, ring finger, and pinky away from your hand. I'm completely serious, try it now. Everyone all done? It sounds pretty different, right? And that's because snapping is actually acoustically a lot more complicated than we imagine. It's this thing that most of us learn to do when we're 6 or 7 specifically to use as social currency in first grade, and yet to this day it remains one of these universal mysteries that
I wonder who first came up with the snap. You know, I wonder who first came up with that. Also, this is a total side note. I was watching something the other day, and I thought to myself, you know when people do the banana phone, you take a banana and you go like this, or whatever, and you act as if it's a phone? I wonder who was the first person to come up with that, because people way back, you know, 1,000 years ago, they didn't have phones, didn't have electricity. So, you know, would they have done that? Because that wouldn't, why would they do that, right? So who would have been the first person to do that? I want to know. I don't know, that's a side note.
That we don't really understand about our own bodies. So let's unravel that mystery right now. True, the thud of your finger hitting your palm makes a sound, and so does your finger as it moves down your thumb and pops off at the end. But actually, both of those sounds are quiet compared to the popping noise that's made by the air in your hand. Now, that might sound weird, but when you snap, the air that's trapped in your hand is what's making the big sound, or in our case, making half the universe disappear. Let me show you. Look at the shape of your hand when you're getting ready to snap. It should look roughly like this. You'll see that your ring finger and pinky are pressed against your palm, roughly creating a cone that's closed or nearly closed at the bottom. When your middle finger moves towards your palm, the cone changes shape really quickly, which actually forces air up and out of the cone towards your index finger.
Is that really how snapping your fingers works? Like, I always thought it had something to do with, like, just this part. I always thought the sound came from, like, the rubbing or something like that. I guess you learn something new every day.
For amplifying sound. The movement out of your hand cone projects sound and the air pressure in one concentrated direction. This is crucial for the snap, and it's actually the same way that the flared end of a horn or a brass instrument works. Thanos is actually creating this shape with his hands. He's actually got pretty good form going into the snap, so shouldn't he be able to create a great sound at the climactic moment? Well, no. The second issue is one that was actually recognized in the movie, or at least in the movie filming. Josh Brolin, the actor who plays Thanos, reveals that when he was doing motion capture for the movie, the Infinity Gauntlet was represented by a hockey glove, and that posed some problems.
And to snap with hockey gloves on just doesn't work.
One of the issues with snapping while wearing gloves is that your fingers create less friction with the snapping motion. Basically, they're more slippery, which means that the air in the cone never gets a good pop. Relative to gloves, human skin has a high coefficient of friction.
Yeah, I think metal would probably give you a good snap though, right? Because metal has a decent amount of friction, right? At least I would think it would. I don't know, this has got me everywhere. Because I was originally thinking, yeah, that, you know, wearing a glove would be impossible to snap. And it still seems really difficult. Then again, if you were to wear a leather glove, I think you could still do a snap. So I guess it all depends on the type of glove you're wearing.
Friction on the palm of your hand is about 0.62. The coefficient of friction on cotton is about 0.51, and the coefficient of metal, like aluminum, is 0.42. Since metal has a lower coefficient of friction than a lot of other materials, it'll naturally be worse at snapping than almost anything else you could wear. That being
Oh wow, man. Man, I thought metal was alright, like, with friction-wise. Because if you take a hammer or something and drag it on the ground, I mean, there's gonna be some friction there, right? I don't know, man. I don't know. I can't think.
Instead, what you lose in friction, you can actually make up for with sheer force. You can try this at home just with your fingers. Hold your middle finger against your thumb loosely and snap. It's kinda dull and quiet, right? Now press your middle finger really hard against your thumb and snap. It's much louder. By increasing the force required to overcome the friction, you speed up the moving finger, which in turn speeds up the air that's being compressed, which in turn makes the snap louder. Could you do the same thing while wearing a magical metallic gauntlet? Theoretically, yeah, especially if you're as strong as a mad titan. The other thing that's actually sitting in Thanos' favor here is metal's ability to conduct sound. Going back to what I said a few minutes ago, that snapping moves air a lot like a brass instrument or a horn, have you ever stopped to wonder why horns are made of metal and brass? Well, it has a lot to do with the fact that metal...
Well, I mean, to be fair, you can get plastic ones. I believe they sound like crap, but you can still get them and use them.
Is actually a great sound conductor. This is because at the molecular level, metal molecules are arranged in a lattice structure. When you have that kind of molecular structure, it's able to carry sound waves through in a very uniform way, preserving the sound wave and either allowing it to bounce right off or projecting it outward. Fabrics like cotton or leather that you might use for other kinds of gloves have a totally different molecular structure because they're polymers. Instead of being able to preserve the sound, polymers, which are long and tangly, break up the sound waves and absorb them, making them really bad sound conductors.
That's why when you see every YouTuber, they have like that weird foam stuff in the background because it absorbs the sound.
That's why fabrics are used to absorb sound. So it seems like everything should be aligning for the Infinity Gauntlet to make one tremendous and thunderous snap like you hear in the movie. Except there's one huge factor getting in the way. You know how we said that metals transfer the forces applied to them into the surrounding air? Well, that's assuming that air is the thing that's surrounding them. Again, think about a trumpet or a horn. There's air vibrating inside the horn caused by your mouth blowing all that nice air and spit, and it's transferred to the outside all along the horn and through the metal's ability to vibrate as the cone widens at the end. The Infinity Gauntlet, though, has a problem, which is that Thanos' hand is in it. If we were able to take his hand out, you'd actually get a lot of reverberation from a snapping sound because the metal would be free to vibrate with air on either side. But because this is the Infinity Gauntlet and was made specifically for Thanos by the Dwarf King, we know that this gauntlet genuinely fits like a glove. The glove do fit, you can't quit. That means that when Thanos snaps, his fingers inside the gauntlet will actually be deadening his own snap, with most of the sound energy simply being transferred.
So it might be like one of the most quietest snaps in history or something like that. So in the movie, instead of this thunderous snap, it's a little tiny little snap, and then half the universe is wiped out.
Into his own skin. This isn't to say that there won't be any sound when Thanos snaps, just that instead of an actual snap or even a kind of metallic clunk, we're just more likely to get a metal grinding sound from how hard he has to press to get the snap to work in the first place. It's not exactly impressive for the Master of the Universe. After researching all of this for the last couple weeks, I wanted to see if anyone had tested snapping in metal gloves. So as I was literally finishing the last couple sentences of this episode, I found out that
I think I just saw one of my reactions there. Give me a second here. I want to see that again. It's on the sidebar here. Look, there I am! There I am! I'm in a Matt Pat video! I'm in a Matt Pat video! Unintentionally, but nonetheless, I can't believe I made it into a Matt Pat video. Anyway, that's a total side note.
Last couple sentences of this episode, I found out that my buddy Kyle Hill over on Because Science actually did an episode covering this topic a couple weeks ago. If you want to see some of the stuff that they put to the test because you just can't get enough of fictional gauntlet physics, well, definitely check that one out. And yes, before you run off to the comments and remind me that Thanos literally has the power of all the universes in his hand so he can make his snap sound like anything he wants.
Oh, so that kind of right there. So you real fart sound, Matt. But right there, just, you know, he can make it sound whatever he wants, so it doesn't matter if it'll actually work. He can still make that sound. Wilhelm scream.
At the end of the day, remember, it's just a theory.
A game theory, which you proved yourself wrong at the end of it, Matt. You proved yourself wrong at the end of it. You just said. So, like, everything, Matt is correct. And then he says, but then again, he has the power of, you know, all the universe. And he can make the sound whatever he wants. So it doesn't matter if anything comes out. because he can make the sound. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. I don't know what to say. Because I think Matt's right. Everything in this is against Thanos or Thanos being able to make the snap sound. But that right at the end, right here.
And yes, before you run off to the comments and remind me that Thanos literally has the power of all the universes in his hand so he can make his snap sound like anything he wants.
Right there. It's like an entire contradiction. Anyway, I hope you guys like this. As a side note, as a side note, I can't believe I was in a Matt Pat video, and that was like 99.9% unintentionally that I was in it, just because it's in the sidebar. But nonetheless, it's made my day a little bit better. But anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up, possibly share with a friend. If you do, subscribe to join the family. Also, make sure you guys go subscribe to the Film Theorist. That link's in the description. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.